3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place you're not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show right here, but where else? CBS Sports Radio, across all the great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming on YouTube. 855-212-4CBS is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Moist Mike and also Stuart Kovacs along the other way. And we'll take you all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Dare Ogunbowale from the Houston Texans is going to stop by at 4:20 p.m. Eastern, 1:20 p.m. Pacific. He was called off the bench to kick yesterday, and he's a running back, and always do love when we get a few minutes to connect with Dare Ogunbowale, as the Texans had a big-time victory this past weekend, yesterday on Sunday, up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where their quarterback, C.J. Stroud, broke a record. Most passing yards by a rookie quarterback in an individual game, 470 yards. Also had 5 passing touchdowns. And when they got the ball with 46 seconds left, down 4, no one's thinking they're getting a touchdown. And they march right down the field very quickly in an efficient 40 seconds, get into the end zone, and the Texans get a big victory up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And don't worry, we will get into the drama Dallas choking Cowboys coming up in the next hour of our extravaganza, because the Cowboys, just when you thought they were going to go get a big victory, and just when you thought that Dak Prescott was that dude and the Cowboys were that team, when they were right at the 6, they crapped their pants. That's what the Cowboys did. That's what the Cowboys always do. Because even when they think they're leading you right to a victory and they're about to take a step or two forward, they make sure to take 3 or 4 steps back and fall on their face. But we have to start in the AFC, because we are now starting to get a clearer picture in the AFC. The 3 best teams in the AFC, in no order, are the Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens. And right now, I think those are your 3 surefire, legitimate Super Bowl contenders inside the AFC. Let's start with the Bengals and Bills. I was disappointed from a Buffalo standpoint in that game. I thought the game could truly go either way. I thought this game meant more to the Buffalo Bills, especially last year in the divisional round where Cincinnati came into your house and they absolutely abused you. That was a lethargic effort from the Buffalo Bills. And not only that, it just once again signifies that the Cincinnati Bengals are a better football team. And when you look at Cincinnati, it is clear now that Joe Burrow is healthy. I proclaimed on this show last week that the Cincinnati Bengals were back. When Joe Burrow, late in that game, in a victory, ran for a first down, it was like a 10 or 11-yard scamper. He got up and he let out a roar. And that was the signal that he was fully healthy and he's ready to go. And you saw it last night. His mobility is back. The way he plants is back. And when healthy, outside of Mahomes, he's the best quarterback. He's the quarterback that you fear the most in the NFL. And you've seen 2 teams that have been neck and neck for the last few years in the Bengals and the Bills. And Buffalo's apex was getting to an AFC title game. Buffalo's apex, you could argue, was up until the final 13 seconds of the divisional round game up against the Kansas City Chiefs, and then it was a disaster ever since then. But ever really since that moment where they were in an AFC title game, and then they were up with 13 seconds to go up against Kansas City, there have been times where the Buffalo Bills will have the look of an elite team. But when the moment is the biggest, when the moment is the brightest for the Buffalo Bills, a team and a franchise that deserves a Super Bowl, they have now gone the other way. Where the Buffalo Bills now are just a good team. They're no longer a great team. They're no longer an elite team. And they're 5-4 now. And when you watch the Bills throughout this season, something just looks off. Something just looks missing with the Buffalo Bills. And you go back to the start of the season where Stephon Diggs had that issue with Josh Allen and Sean McDermott, and it was worse than what it should have been. But really, the first game of the season up against the Jets, it was kind of a precursor to what this season was going to turn out to be for Buffalo. Where even when Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays into the season, tears his Achilles, you can't beat the New York Jets, and that's nothing against the Jets. The Jets are a solid team. The Jets have an opportunity to be as good as anybody this year inside the AFC East if they could find a way to beat the Los Angeles Chargers tonight. But when you lose Aaron Rodgers and you turn to Zach Wilson and you can't beat that team, that's problematic for a team like Buffalo that is trying to get to a Super Bowl and go to a level where they've never been before and be Super Bowl champs. And you watched the game last night, even when right out of the gate, Bengals touchdown, Bills touchdown, it's like, all righty, let's rock and roll. The highlight of the Bills last night was Josh Allen pointing to a Bengals defender and drawing what was a very weak taunting penalty. There's 2 calls yesterday that really annoyed me. That taunting penalty, and then in my game, and I'm saying this as a Patriot fan, and this is not hyperbole, that was the worst roughing the passer call I've ever seen. I don't know how the defender for the Commanders, who all he did was strip sack Mac Jones, was supposed to hit the quarterback, for crying out loud. That was weak. It's almost as if just put flags on the quarterbacks and let's play flag football. Because if you're teaching football, I don't know what else you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to direct a defensive player to hit the quarterback. But anyway, I digress back to the Bengals and Bills. When you watch those 2 teams, you see the difference. The Bengals now have their Superman back in Joe Burrow, and he's a full go. And when he's a full go, they're as good as anybody, not only in the AFC, but in the entirety of the NFL. Because that's a well-rounded football team. That's a football team that has elite offensive talent in Burrow and Chase and Higgins and Boyd. Even a guy like Irv Smith Jr., who was talking about him last night. And he had an impact in the game. And then defensively, they continue to be the most disrespected defense and underappreciated defense in the league. Lou Anarumo, it's a joke, it's a disgrace that he's not a head coach right now. So when you watch that game last night between Cincinnati and Buffalo, it's apparent the Bengals have the look of a champion. The Buffalo Bills just have a look of a good team that should make the playoffs, but when push comes to shove, you can't trust them in a big game. So welcome back to title contention for the Cincinnati Bengals. We then go to Germany, where I'll give credit to the fans in Germany. It was an electric crowd. I'm still annoyed at the NFL that they didn't put that game in Kansas City with the return of Tyreek Hill to Kansas City, and that game was in Germany. But the environment via TV was absolutely electric. And I couldn't imagine what it was like in person. You see, though, the Chiefs and the Dolphins. We want to talk about disrespected defenses. Kansas City's one of them. Because every single analyst and pundit this year, when talking about the Chiefs, they go, what's wrong with the offense? Who's going to emerge as a number 1 wide receiver outside of Travis Kelce being a tight end and being their best pass-catching weapon? What's up with Kansas City's offense? How much do they miss Eric Bieniemy? That's all you hear about Kansas City. And Kansas City's 7-2. So when I look at Kansas City, what has been their consistent this year? Hasn't been the offense. It's been Steve Spagnuolo's defense. And yesterday, they shut out the high-octane, high-flying Miami Dolphins offense through the first half, and the Dolphins had 2 touchdowns, and they both came in the third quarter. And oh yeah, by the way, it wasn't like the Chiefs offense was high-flying yesterday. The Chiefs defense also got a score on what was a crazy play that led to a Brian Cook touchdown. This Chiefs defense, through the entirety of the season, has been wonderful. And in years past, when Kansas City has won Super Bowls, it's usually around this time of the year where Kansas City starts to figure out their defense and then just becomes serviceable. But the real identity, if you watch the Chiefs this year, has been their defense. That has been the thing you could trust the most. Now, I get it. Their best player, the best player in the league is still Patrick Mahomes. But if this offense is still missing something through 9 weeks, and their defense has been their constant, it makes Kansas City as lethal as ever, because you know the Chiefs are eventually going to figure it out with 1587 and someone else emerging on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the flip side, very disappointed with Miami. And I don't think anyone in national media has been more respectful and optimistic about the Dolphins before the start of the season than me. I picked them before the start of the year to win their first division championship since 2008. I still believe that will happen. But if you listen to this show, you know there's a difference between a good team and a great team. And I thought Miami was a great team. I thought Miami earlier in the year had a feel of being a Super Bowl contender. But the Dolphins right now are showing when they go up against, can't even say better teams, because like Buffalo right now isn't better than them, but Buffalo beat them by I think it was 18 points or whatever it was. They crushed them, if not more. And then when they go up against the elite teams in the NFL, Miami didn't really do all that great up against Philadelphia. They lost. And even when the Chiefs aren't at their best, they couldn't beat Kansas City. And it was so disappointing and deflating yesterday when Tua gets that ball late and they are driving down the field. And in back-to-back plays, he had a wide open Cedric Wilson Jr. for a touchdown. And it was almost like that Buffalo Wild Wings commercial where you press the button to elongate the game or have something go the other way than the obvious that we thought was going to happen. How he underthrew the receiver by 5, 6, 7 yards was ridiculous. It almost looked as if that ball hit the Jumbotron and then just fell down. That's how poorly thrown the football was by Tua. And then the next play, at first when I'm watching the game, I'm like, oh, maybe the snap was a little bit off to the right. The ball hits him right in his hands. And he drops it, and then that's how the game does conclude. So we saw yesterday, even if the Chiefs may be vulnerable, the Chiefs are still as good as almost anybody in the league. Their defense is phenomenal. And the Dolphins can't be taken seriously as a Super Bowl contender. They're just showing you they're a good team. And when the competition picks up, they're not capable yet of getting those victories. And then finally, maybe the team I've been most impressed with this year in the NFL. It's the Baltimore Ravens. Going into the year, I thought the Ravens' apex would just be making the playoffs. I've always been a big Lamar Jackson fan. When Bill Polian was saying he should move to running back or wide receiver before the draft, I thought that was laughable when he did that at the Combine. And the reason was we've seen Heisman Trophy winners, and just because you're a Heisman Trophy winner doesn't mean you're going to be this all-pro great quarterback. But we've seen other Heisman Trophy winners get that opportunity when we weren't optimistic about their NFL future. And they've gone on to at least get the right to prove that they could be a quarterback. The fact that Lamar Jackson fell to 32nd in that draft still makes no sense to me. He's won a unanimous MVP in his first true year as a starter, and the last few years the injuries have caught up to him. And everyone's saying this guy can't win a championship, this guy can't win a big game. And I said, nonsense. He's still young in his career. And you look at that roster, it's not the greatest roster in the world. It's not as if they have these awesome weapons all over the place on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense is phenomenal. But this Ravens team, I was very iffy on them making the playoffs. I did not pick them to be one of my top 7 teams in the AFC because I didn't like the change in offensive coordinator I was hearing over the summer on what the offense would look like. And I thought they were going to have an identity issue. And then also, you look at Lamar, last 2 years, he hasn't been healthy. And this whole team has been decimated with injuries. But in 2 of the last 3 weeks, we've seen the Ravens go up against a very good Lions team and a very good Seahawks team. And neither of those games were close. The Ravens blew both of those teams out. And you have Lamar, who is dominant. They plug and play whoever they want at the running back position, and they have been good. And the defense has been great. That Ravens team is definitely a Super Bowl contender. So what I think we learned when we're now 9 weeks into the season, the 3 best teams in the AFC, when they're a full go, in no order, Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens. Bills and Dolphins are only good teams. They're not very good teams. They're not great teams. They're not Super Bowl contenders. And you may be saying, Zach, are you being disrespectful to the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think the Jaguars right now are the 4th best team in the AFC. I really do believe that. The Jaguars are 6-2. I love Trevor Lawrence. I love Doug Peterson. Josh Allen's having a monster season on the defensive side of the ball. But I got to see Jacksonville, and I got to be fair here. Like I talk about the Dolphins not beating a quality opponent, I got to see the Jags beat a quality opponent. Because their wins this year, Colts, Falcons, they beat the Colts twice, the Saints, the Steelers, they did beat Buffalo, but I don't love the Buffalo Bills this year. And that game that still sticks out to me about the Jacksonville Jaguars is they had Kansas City in their building, and they were only able to put up 9 points offensively. That still concerns me a little bit, where I'm not ready to say the Jags are a great team. Right now, they're just still a very good team. But there's no doubt in my mind, if you had to give me 3 guesses to get to the Super Bowl this year out of the AFC, it's the 2 teams in the AFC North, Cincinnati and Baltimore, and then it's the Kansas City Chiefs. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Who do you think will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl this year? That's our poll question today. You can find it on my Twitter, at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. We'll retweet it at CBS Sports Radio as well. And right now, the early returns, 30.1% say the Cincinnati Bengals, who are my pick to go to the Super Bowl before the season did commence, up against the Eagles. 29% say the Ravens. 22.6% say the Chiefs. And then 18.3% go with other. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. When we come on back, 3 college football takes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
There was a moment in the game when I said to myself, even though the game appeared to be pretty much over, holy smokes, the Cincinnati Bengals are really back. And it was late in the fourth quarter where Joe Burrow took off and he got a first down. And he jumped up and he gave out this roar. And that roar and that exuberant scream signified to me that was Joe Burrow telling the rest of the National Football League, you thought we were done this year. You thought we were having a poor season. You counted us out. Well, guess what, folks? I'm back. I'm healthy. And I'm here to kick your ass the rest of the NFL season. And that's the Joe Burrow I love.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. You can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone all season long. You can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. All righty, let's get to 3 college football takes here. We'll start off with USC, who once again lost to a team in Washington who, if the College Football Playoff Committee doesn't put them in the top 4 this week, I don't know what they're evaluating. But that was a really fun game between Michael Penix Jr. and Caleb Williams. But it is bizarre to me that it took that loss to Washington for USC to realize that their chances of going to a national championship game or the college football playoff were over. Because that already ended when they lost to Utah, and they suffered their second loss of the season when they lost in back-to-back weeks to Notre Dame and Utah. Because no team in the history of the 14 college football playoff has ever got in with 2 losses. Now, up until this loss to Washington, you could have still told me USC is alive to go to the Pac-12 championship game, because even though they had 2 losses, only one of those losses were inside the Pac-12. Now they have 2 losses inside the Pac-12, 3 on the season, and any hope or any aspiration that they wanted to build up and try to believe that something was there is now right out the window. But my take here is Lincoln Riley ruined this season for USC, because Lincoln Riley trusted his friend in Alex Grinch, who everyone in America knew was not a good enough defensive coordinator. Like last year, we all saw the flaw in USC in year number 1 of Lincoln Riley. Their defense stunk. And that's why when many were jumping on the train of USC this season, because they have Caleb Williams, they have the great offense, everyone loves Lincoln Riley, I said, nope, I'm not going to pick them to win the Pac-12, because I didn't trust their defense, and I thought there were better teams inside the Pac-12. My pick was Washington, and after Washington, I said it was Oregon. And I thought Utah was even getting disrespected, but we didn't know when Cam Rising was going to come back, and he's never made his return this season. It looks like he's going to get a medical red shirt and come back next year, coming off that ACL injury that he suffered in the Rose Bowl. But going back to USC, it was Lincoln Riley's loyalty or arrogance or stubbornness that cost this team a chance to win the Pac-12 and to be one of the 4 teams remaining in the college football playoff, because he thought, when no one else thought this, that Alex Grinch was going to be good enough as his defensive coordinator. And after this loss to Washington, when you lose 52-42, he finally sent his friend Alex Grinch packing, but it was something that should have transpired at the end of last season. And if I had to just give you one suggestion, because, right, it's easy to get on the radio and say, oh, fire this guy, fire that guy. For Lincoln Riley, moving forward, the hire I would make at the end of the season, if he's interested, because he was at Wisconsin, was their defensive coordinator, was their interim head coach, didn't get the job when Luke Fickell got the job, and then it was, he was going to take a year off, and now he's on the staff in some capacity at Illinois. It's Jim Leonhard. Now, Jim Leonhard, you could argue, could become a head coach, and Jim Leonhard may get head coaching looks this offseason. But if he does not get a head coaching job, I would absolutely bring him in to be the defensive coordinator of the USC Trojans. And Lincoln Riley, this could be harsh to some, but I think it's accurate, and I just think it's truthful. He is overrated as a coach. The guy is a good coach. I'm not telling you he sucks and he's horrible. He is still a top 10 coach, top 15 coach in the country. But when you have had 3 Heisman Trophy winners and another Heisman Trophy finalist, and you have not been able to win one college football playoff game, that's embarrassing. That shows me you're a good coach, but you're not a great coach. Because at Oklahoma, he had 2 Heisman Trophy winners and Heisman Trophy finalists. Got to the college football playoff, loss. Now, with the guy that everyone thinks is going to be the number 1 overall pick and is this generational talent in Caleb Williams, who is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and still has ridiculous stats this season, you have 3 losses on your resume? Lincoln Riley needs to look himself in the mirror, and it stinks that his stubbornness and his refusal to fire Alex Grinch is what cost his team its season, because they were failed from the start. And you don't get Caleb Williams back next year. He's off to the NFL, where he will most likely still be the number 1 overall pick, even after picking up 3 losses this year to his resume. But if you can't find a way to get to the college football playoff when it's 4 teams and get a win, when you have all these Heisman Trophy winners or these Heisman Trophy finalists, how are you going to win more games when it goes to 12 next year? Because USC, even though they're out of the top 25 right now, no one should be shocked when they make a college football playoff with Lincoln Riley when there's 12 teams that get invited. But if Lincoln Riley couldn't win a college football playoff game with all those really successful quarterbacks when it was just 4 teams, what makes me think he's going to be able to do that when there's going to be more teams playing and you're going to have to do more than just win 2 games to become a national champion? So that's take number 1. Yes, Riley finally made the right decision, but it was way too late. Number 2, my favorite thing that I saw this weekend in college football was Oklahoma State winning the last consistent bedlam. Like, I don't think they'll never play this game again, but with Oklahoma going to the SEC at the end of the season, it's all uncertain when the next time we're going to see bedlam between Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. And Mike Gundy, we all love his personality. We all remember the "I'm a man, I'm 40" rant that he went on many years ago. But think about it. This offseason, he lost Spencer Sanders to the transfer portal. Spencer Sanders goes to Ole Miss, where he's not even starting because Jackson Dart is, and Ole Miss is having a really good season. And Oklahoma State was that forgotten about team who's now sitting there at 7-2, just totally put the nail in the coffin on the Oklahoma season. And let me remind you, earlier this year, Oklahoma State was in a rough spot. They were trending in the wrong direction where, yeah, they started off 2-0 against Central Arkansas and Arizona State, but then they lost to South Alabama and they lost to Iowa State. Ever since then, they haven't lost a game, taking down Kansas State, Kansas, West Virginia, Cincinnati, and then their best win of the season up against Oklahoma. And you look at this Oklahoma team now, man, their ceiling was the Texas game. And since that Texas game, they barely beat UCF. They lose to Kansas. Great win by Lance Leipold. And then they just lost to Oklahoma State. So I was very happy with Oklahoma making an unnecessary move, but you're chasing the cash, so I could understand it. Going to the SEC and ending this great college football rivalry for now in Bedlam that Oklahoma State not only kind of told Oklahoma, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you on the way out, but they basically eliminated them from having a hopeful season the rest of the way and going to the levels that we thought Oklahoma could go to, where we talked about them after the Red River game where Oklahoma was able to hold on and beat Texas. And then finally, I think it's time to say this. And I know that there's different levels of being back. But many people wrote the eulogy for Alabama after week 2 when they lost to Texas. And I will raise my hand and I will be the first one to say I was one of those people. Because I remember doing a Sports Minute, and the Sports Minute that I gave was no team in the history of the college football playoff has ever got 2 losses or had 2 losses and got in. That was the take. I think Alabama's definitely going to get one more loss this season. They won't be going to the college football playoff. And you looked at their schedule after that Texas game, forget about South Florida, but they benched Jalen Milroe, then they go back to Jalen Milroe, and they played some good teams. Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU, and they won all of them. They beat Ole Miss, they beat Mississippi State, they beat A&M, they beat Arkansas. They were down big at halftime, 20-7 against Tennessee, come back right after the third quarter and say, Tennessee, you're not beating us 2 years in a row. And then that LSU game where LSU and USC continue to be the 2 most disappointing teams in the nation this year, LSU was rocking early, and then as the game did go on, the Alabama defense made their adjustments. The Alabama defense has been great all year, and I got to give it to Jalen Milroe, who was lethal in the game, not only through the air, but more importantly, on the ground. And now Alabama sits at 8-1 with Kentucky, Chattanooga, and then the Iron Bowl left on their schedule. That will be win, win, win in a down year and an off year for Alabama. And they'll be in the SEC championship game where there is the big test. Can they take down Georgia and disrupt what many people think will be an undefeated regular season? And you factor in the SEC championship game for Georgia as well before they go back to another college football playoff. And as I sit here today, with Georgia being vulnerable, and we don't know when Brock Bowers is coming back, but Georgia is still undefeated, and I don't give a rat's ass about style points, I would love to see Georgia and Alabama in that SEC title game, and we're going to get it. Because now, a few weeks ago, I would have said, okay, Alabama could get there, but they're not going to beat Georgia. That's uncertain right now how that game would play. And I think Georgia right now, if that game's played tomorrow, 5.5, 6-point favorite. And it would be tough to lay the points there because that would have the feel of a 3-point game. And it just shows you, even when Saban has a down season, like a few years ago, they got to a national championship game when he didn't think they were going to have that success, and they lost. Then last year, they didn't make the college football playoff. But this year, after week 2, everyone had Alabama and the Crimson Tide dead, done, finished. And you've seen some coaches, I know Dabo just had a nice win finally up against Notre Dame, but you've seen Dabo pick up like 4 losses this year. Nick Saban, when he has a bad year, it's only like 1 or 2 losses. And right now, with all the negativity that was surrounding Alabama, they are 8-1, and they could accomplish anything this season with the way that defense plays. And Jalen Milroe has grown up from that Texas game to where we got to see him several weeks later go up against LSU with the way that he has performed in between after getting benched up against South Florida and then getting his job back from Ole Miss to LSU. So those are the 3 college football takes this week. Lincoln Riley waited way too late to fire Alex Grinch. Great to see Oklahoma State have a little message to Oklahoma in the final consistent installment of Bedlam. And then Alabama looks like they are back, and they are a team that can now be viewed in that championship contending conversation. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update you with some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We call that segment the News Brief. But first up, standing by with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com. November is the month where the real contenders start to emerge. The Jets host the Chargers tonight with a lot on the line for both. New York has won 3 in a row. Another victory would pull them to within a half game of the AFC East leading Dolphins. The Chargers are third in a weak AFC, but a win tonight would put them back at the 500 mark, which would be huge considering they have the Lions next week and the Ravens in 3 weeks. The Giants will go the rest of the way without quarterback Daniel Jones after MRI is confirmed a torn ACL. Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert has a fractured forearm and will likely head to injured reserve. The Guardians found their new manager, 39-year-old Stephen Vogt, succeeds future Hall of Famer Terry Francona, while Craig Counsell breaks the bank, getting the largest contract ever, 5 years, $40 million from the Cubs, while the Mets, after whiffing on Counsell, are reportedly set to name Carlos Mendoza their new manager. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Jim Rome here. Coming up Tuesday in the Jungle, the UNC quarterback and reigning ACC Player of the Year, Drake May. See you Tuesday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
Lincoln Riley is an overrated coach. That doesn't mean he's horrible. That doesn't mean he's a miserable head football coach. He's a very, very, very good head football coach. But in big moments, he doesn't show up. And to not get to a college football playoff with Caleb Williams is embarrassing. Either USC or LSU are the two most disappointing teams in college football. We're not even in November yet, and both of those teams won't sniff the CFP.
This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
It's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
It was all fun and games for the Dolphins. Then they had to play the Buffalo Bills, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And they were like Oprah Winfrey during Christmas time when she's handing out gifts. Mike McDaniel basically said to his team, you get an L, you get an L, you get an L. And the Miami Dolphins are now viewed as a team that are good. We know that they could fall behind and then get back into the game rather quickly because of Tua and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert. But they're not a team that I consider to be great. They're not a team that I think are now Super Bowl contenders because against better competition, they have not fared well. Here is Mike McDaniel taking blame for the loss to the Kansas City. How about those Chiefs?
If I know my personnel well, Tua's probably standing up here since he gets to talk before me and saying this, that, and the other about it's on him. It wasn't. There's a lot that falls on squarely on my shoulders.
I'm not gonna lie. The first 4 or 5 seconds of that clip, I had no clue what Mike McDaniel was trying to say. Stu, I need to settle down here. I need to think clearly. I need to intently listen there because I kind of thought I knew what he was saying, but the first 4 or 5 seconds, I was basically thinking to myself, what the heck is going on out here? Play me McDaniel again.
If I know my personnel well, Tua's probably standing up here since he gets to talk before me and saying this, that, and the other about it's on him. It wasn't. There's a lot that falls on squarely on my shoulders.
So, Samter, you deal with me every day, so you know how to translate stupid. So help me out here. he's saying if he knew his personnel better, they probably would have won the game. What is, like, trying to do something different against Kansas? Kansas City's defense has been good all year. So I just don't understand that answer whatsoever, other than it's just a coach saying this is on me, not on my team, which I respect that.
That's basically what he's trying to do. He's basically saying if I know Tua's going to be up here saying that it's Tua's fault, but really it's not Tua's fault, it's my fault. So he was basically saying, like, I know Tua's going to try to take the blame. This is not about Tua, this is about me.
Oh. Here would be my advice to coach. I appreciate that. I respect the answer. But Tua Tagovailoa has to hit a wide open receiver and not throw the ball 4 or 5 yards short. It doesn't matter what the heck you know, what the heck you could have thought better, or like Tua should take that loss on him. Because in the first half, the offense did nothing. Now, part of that's on McDaniel too. But towards the end of the game, and this is what great teams do when they don't play their best, they find a way to win the game. If Tua hits his man for a touchdown, maybe they go for 2 and they win the game. But Tua's got to make that throw.
Part of me, as I'm watching that play on rewind a couple times, I'm thinking to myself, he was intentionally trying. The only acceptable explanation was that he was trying to throw it short so that the receiver would jump forward and try to get a pass interference. That was the only.
He was wide open for a touchdown.
He was so short on that throw. There's no reasonable explanation. It makes no sense. You say 5 yards short. He was like 15, 20 yards short.
You know at Jerry's World?
Close.
You know at Jerry's World where sometimes you see the punter hit the Jumbotron? Now, I don't know anything about this stadium in Germany. I thought he threw the ball so high up in the air, which actually would have been impressive, that he hit the Jumbotron and then it fell 20 yards short. Let's go to Lamar Jackson. He makes it clear that the Baltimore Ravens are rolling.
If we playing like that, we don't even need to hit no peak or stride. Just keep staying locked in how we are and just playing every opponent the same way. You know, physicality, being smart, and defending what's ours, our home turf.
Lamar knows what it is, and he's 18-1 in his career up against NFC teams, I read, which is crazy. But he knows what it is. He's got to stay healthy. Because even look last year, the Ravens almost beat Cincinnati when he wasn't healthy in the playoffs. So we all know they have a really good team. It all comes down to, can number 8 stay healthy? This is my favorite story in the NFL this season, Josh Dobbs. Like, it was impressive what he was doing in Arizona. And you remember last year when he goes off the practice squad from Detroit, and then like 9 days or 10 days later, he's starting for Tennessee towards the end of the season. Well, this year, he's on the Cardinals after getting traded there. He is in Arizona on Tuesday, gets benched. Behind the scenes, they were trading him. Gets to Minnesota on Wednesday. Is not supposed to start. Jaron Hall starts. Jaron Hall goes out of his first career NFL start with a concussion. And Josh Dobbs comes off the bench, defeats Atlanta, had 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Here is Josh Dobbs and the challenges starting out on short notice.
It's like if you were taking Spanish all year, and so until you have an AP French exam on Sunday, someone's going to talk to you in Spanish and translate it to the French. So that's kind of like what was going on out there.
That's a great analogy. And I saw he was taking snaps with his linemen on the sidelines so they could get used to his cadence. And it's just a remarkable story and shows you in the NFL how much we think about preparation and how, I'm not saying it's not unimportant, but the last few years we've seen Baker go right from one place to the next and perform well with the Rams. But now we've seen Josh Dobbs go from the Cardinals, get no preparation, able to beat another NFL team. Here's Antonio Pierce, the interim coach of the Raiders. This dude's in a decent mood today. He's smiling. Haven't seen that in a while. And this is Antonio Pierce after the Raiders crushed the Giants, where this win ranks in his career.
It's up there. My stomach was, I had them butterflies before the game. That hasn't happened but 2 other times in my life. And it was special, very special.
Well, later on in the show, we will take a look back at the best win of Antonio Pierce's career, and that's when the Giants beat the Patriots in 2007 in the Super Bowl. And he was trying to save Josh McDaniels' ass, and then Josh McDaniels got all annoyed with the way that Antonio Pierce was talking about or Josh McDaniels was talking about the New England Patriots. So that rant will be coming your way at 5 p.m. Eastern today, 2 p.m. Pacific. You will not want to miss it. Let's go to Derek Carr, the former Raiders quarterback, now with the Saints. Back and forth game there. I was impressed with Tyson Bagent, but this is Derek Carr saying on the win over the Bears to take the lead in the NFC South.
We're able to string 2 in a row in, now after that terrible feeling that we had before the Colts game, and seeing some of the fruits of the conversations and the hard work paying off.
It looks like the Saints are starting to round into NFC South champion form because the Panthers stink. We know that. The Bucs are now moving in the wrong direction. And Atlanta, they're going back to Taylor Heineke this week. He's better than Desmond Ridder, but the Falcons just had a miserable loss. So it pains me to say because I don't think the Saints are that good. But right now, begrudgingly, it does look like they're going to win the NFC South. Here is Baker Mayfield on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4-game losing streak.
Talent doesn't mean anything if you don't do your job and execute. So just frustrating to lose. It's, like I said, there was some improvement in the right direction today, but hurts.
That loss is so demoralizing because you thought you won. When you score that touchdown to take the lead up against the Texans and there's 46 seconds left, even though C.J. Stroud's having this ridiculous record rookie season, no one in that moment thought he was going to be able to march down the field down by 4 in 46 seconds and get the ball in the end zone, but he did. Let's go to Caleb Williams. A lot has been made about his emotions following another loss. I had no problem with him jumping into the arms of his family members and crying, but there was this exchange after the game when talking to the media.
Caleb, obviously emotional after, tonight. What's kind of your emotional state, mentality right now?
I want to go home and cuddle with my dog and watch some shows. I don't know what, we lost the game. Something to work hard for throughout months, years, to have big games like this. We came out with the loss today. So emotionally, I want to go home and I want to lay with my dog.
It's kind of depressing. But, the dog will uplift you, and you watch some shows as well. But, man, that's a very sad version of Caleb Williams. Here's Jim Harbaugh on the criticism that cheating helped his team.
The comments keep coming about, why they're good, how they're good. And they're just good. If you know football and you watch our guys play, I've said it before, there's 20, 22, 23 guys that'll be playing on Sundays next year.
Well, we're going to find out because everyone knows the signs this weekend, that Michigan can't have the signs this weekend, and Penn State has changed it. And Michigan should beat Penn State. If Penn State finds a way to actually do something they never do with James Franklin, that's what a big game, then it's only going to add fuel to the fire that these last 2 years significantly helped Michigan. By the way, I think Michigan's going to crush Penn State this weekend. And finally, let's hear Dabo Swinney. A lot of talk last week with that caller, Tyler. Then he beats Notre Dame. Here is Dabo on a huge win over Notre Dame.
We ain't had much to go our way this year, but the one thing that has shown up every week is the heart and the fight of Clemson. And I know we're down and everybody's throwing dirt on us, but if Clemson's a stock, you better buy all you freaking can buy right now. Let's go.
Courtesy of ESPN, that was a fired up Dabo Swinney. I had a feeling his team was going to win. Just usually works that way. The spread was fishy. I said it on Friday as well. All the criticism, everyone jumping off the Clemson bandwagon as they should. I'm not ready to buy stock back in on Clemson. I think that would be an ill-advised stock purchase because is Dabo going to change his stubborn ways? Where he's been arrogant, he's been refusing to embrace the transfer portal, only has one player in the transfer portal, has refused to embrace NIL as well. He's made fun of it, saying, my program is built on God's name, image, and likeness. If he doesn't change those things, win up against Notre Dame in a down season for Clemson isn't going to mean that this program gets any closer to actually being back to the Clemson standard.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rock and roll in hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio and also streaming on YouTube. So now we have to get to what a lot of people have been waiting for the last 60 minutes. And it's my breakdown on the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. And I will admit, going into this game yesterday, I was not sure who was going to win the game. I thought the Cowboys, and I never believe in the Cowboys in a big spot, but I thought they had the ability to walk into Philadelphia and get a W. And right when the Eagles look like they're going to win the game and Brandon Graham comes up late with 2 sacks, I thought the game was over. And then the Eagles couldn't get a first down. The Cowboys still had their timeouts. And the Cowboys get the ball. And the Cowboys are quickly marching right down the field. And I'm sitting there saying, wow, in a game where Dak Prescott played well, maybe the narrative starts to change a little bit on Dak Prescott, and they put the cherry on top of the sundae. They put the ball in the end zone, and they stun the Philadelphia Eagles. Because if that transpired, every single person today would have been saying, wow, that makes us look at Dallas differently. Okay, Dallas with an impressive win in Philly. I can't believe when you look at the difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys, everyone talks about, including me, how the Eagles know how to win, and that's the difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys. And look, the Eagles gave the game to the Dallas Cowboys. But even when it was put on a beautiful plate and it was handed to you on a silver spoon, the Dallas Cowboys, when for most of the game, they looked like a solid team, and Dak was playing a really good game, and he didn't look like he was going to be the reason why they lose the game. Right in the final 30 seconds, the Cowboys' worst nightmare, and the Cowboys' pass pops right back up. Where that's why I call them the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. Because they had that game practically won right at the 6-yard line. They get a false start penalty after Jalen Carter jumped. Then they immediately go right back. After getting to the 6, they go back to the 11. When they're at the 11, Dak Prescott takes a sack. They lose 11 yards, and his offensive line was bad in the game. Then Dak Prescott has an incomplete pass. Then they have a delay of game. And on the final play of the game, it was close when they were 27 yards out, but close, yet no cigar. And they didn't find a way to get the victory. To go from the 6, it's actually impressive. To be at the 6 with 27 seconds to go, and for the game to end when you're throwing the ball and snapping the ball from your 27, that's the only way the Cowboys could do it. The Cowboys do the unthinkable in the big spot, even when we see it over and over again. 3 years ago, I don't know what they were trying to do, where Dak slides in bounds, then they try to rush up to the line, the official never touches the ball, and they can't even snap the ball. Unimaginable that was their approach. Then last year, yeah, you lose Tony Pollard. Your defense is playing a great game. And Dak Prescott, who you pay all this money to, fumble, interception, good night. And then this year, you got smacked by the 49ers. Then you're playing the first of 2 up against the Eagles. And the Eagles displayed that they were the better team in the third quarter. But they didn't slam the coffin shut on you. And the Eagles were trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory in the final few minutes of the game. And they said, here is the win. Take the win and get the ball in the end zone. You were at the 6-yard line, the 6, with 27 seconds left. And I don't care what transpired in the first 59-plus minutes of the game. Like, you look at Dak Prescott's stat line, I know there's a lot of people today saying, you can't crush Dak Prescott. You can't go after Dak Prescott. He was 29 of 44, 374 yards and 3 touchdowns. No one's saying Dak is trash. No one outside of LaShawn McCoy, which was stupid, is saying Dak is ass. We've all said Dak's a good quarterback. Everyone's acknowledged that. But when you pay the quarterback $40-something million, I don't want to hear, even if there's validity to it, the offensive line stunk. Or this connection was off with this wide receiver. Or the defense let you down. Like, I don't want to hear any of that stuff. You had 2 opportunities at the end of the game in a 28-23 game to go win it. Because they got the ball with 4:42 at their own 26. They turned the ball over on downs, 4th and 8 at the Eagles' 29. And then when they got gifted the ball back with 46 seconds to go, and I get it, they're moving the ball down the field. But when you quickly get the ball to the 6-yard line, you got to put the ball in the end zone. And they didn't. And I don't want to hear, oh, give Dak a pass because of that. Because C.J. Stroud had basically an identical situation. He got the ball back with 46 seconds as well. And that's a rookie quarterback who doesn't have as talented of a team as the Dallas Cowboys do. And I get it. The Texans are going up against Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay's not a slouch of a defense, and the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. But C.J. Stroud got the ball in the damn end zone. That's what a franchise quarterback does. Dak Prescott, even though his line stunk, you get the ball to the 6. You can't take a sack. You got to get the ball in the end zone. You got to give your team a chance. And Dak continues to show, in the big moment, he's just good. At times, he may look like he's great. But through the full 60-minute span of a game, whenever the game is in the balance at the end, and there's a chance to win it against a marquee elite team, and you're trying to get a signature victory, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys fail. And in a game where it looked like they were going to stun Philadelphia and send home all those raucous, crazy fans at Lincoln Financial Field in a somber mood, just when the Cowboys looked like they were going to be screaming, "How about them Cowboys?" And Jerry Jones is going to be throwing a parade in South Philadelphia and jumping up and down like a fat kid at a candy store, the drama Dallas choking Cowboys appeared at the 6-yard line. And they ended the game taking a snap from the 27-yard line. You just can't make it up. In a game where how it was trending towards the end, they should not have won. They were gifted an opportunity to win the game. And they moved in the wrong direction. So sure, enemy number one today and culprit number one on why the Cowboys lost is not Dak Prescott. I will admit that. But I don't care how great Dak played through the first 57, 56, 55 minutes of the game. Franchise quarterbacks, 2 things they need to do. When I watch a game, this is what I look for to determine if I believe you're a franchise quarterback. On third down, I don't care what the distance is. But on third down, 3rd and 18, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 22. If I'm sitting on the couch and you're my quarterback, I got to have a belief, regardless of what the distance is, you're going to make the third down play. And then, when the game is on the line and you're driving to go win the game, I got to think to myself, this is the guy that's going to get the job done. It's 2 complex things to do, but also 2 simple ways of looking and determining if your guy is the franchise quarterback. And for Dak Prescott, when you go on the back end of that statement and he's driving late in a game, I just don't trust this dude to get the job done. And that was even yesterday when I was nervous. I even thought, wow, Dak is actually going to do this. And right when I let my guard down a little bit and I said, here come the Cowboys. Here comes Dallas. Dak showed you, and the Cowboys showed you who they are. Why they have the looks of a great team, but they are very far away from being a great team. And once again, the wins for the Cowboys this year, the Giants, the Jets, the Patriots, the Chargers, and the Rams. A win's a win in the NFL. You shouldn't apologize for winning. But when this team hasn't been to a Super Bowl since 1995, and this team hasn't been to an NFC title game since the 1995 season, you got to be better than that. And you got to be held to a higher standard. They lost to the Cardinals this year, who stink. They lost to the 49ers, who are good, and they lost to the Eagles. The Cowboys have a lot of empty wins. And when I look at Dallas, I said this all throughout the year. I said it before the season started. There is no reason to believe in them. Even when they were winning games 40-0 and 30-10 and 43-20, 38-3. There's not a reason to believe in them. Because the last 2 years, we've seen this team in the regular season be 12 wins back-to-back years. And when push comes to shove, regardless of who the opponent is, when you get into a big spot, when you get into a big game, 4 doesn't get the job done, and this team does not get the job done. And you saw it yesterday. Even what wasn't an embarrassing performance, even which was a game that was tough going in, you thought it could go either way. But the Eagles let the opportunity and they left the window for you to cash in and go get a dub. 2 drives at the end of the game. The second one was a gift. The second one, you should thank the Eagles for their incompetence down the stretch. And when you get the ball to the 6, it's not brain surgery, folks. It's not, you don't need a PhD in football. You got to get the ball in the end zone. And the quarterback that's making $40 million, even though he played a really good game up until that final 2 drives, the quarterback has to make sure they don't move all the way back to the 27. But that's what transpired. And now look at the Eagles. They're 8-1. And if I'm a team in the NFL, I would be scared, you know what, when it comes to Philadelphia. Because the Eagles are 8-1, and people are being critical of Philadelphia. And this is not like the Steelers of a few years ago. Remember a few years ago, Steelers like 9-0, 10-0 to start the season? Whatever it was, and then they just stumbled down the stretch. Like, we all knew that Steelers team wasn't as good as to what their record indicated they were. But this is a team in Philadelphia that just got to the Super Bowl last year. This was a team last year in Philadelphia that was as dominant could be in the regular season. And they were up by 10 at halftime against the Chiefs, and then Patrick Mahomes did what Patrick Mahomes did. But as long as Jalen Hurts stays healthy, which he was hobbling around to the game, and he had to go into halftime a little bit early, as long as he is healthy, they're in the Super Bowl this year. Now, I look at the NFC. 49ers last 3 weeks have come back down to earth. Impossible to trust the Cowboys. I love the Lions. I can't pick them to go to the Super Bowl right now. Seattle, Geno Smith has a problem the last few weeks. NFC South, no one's going to trust whoever wins that division to go to a Super Bowl. Eagles get home field advantage. Eagles have 2 games in South Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field, staring them in the face to get to the Super Bowl. As long as their quarterback, as long as one stays healthy, I'd be really damn surprised with what I've seen through the first 9 weeks of the season as they enter their bye week right now and try to get healthy if the Eagles don't get to the Super Bowl once again. Because that is the most well-rounded team in the league. That is the deepest team in the league. And this team is 8-1, and you have people get on their soapbox saying, oh, they don't look that great. It's because how they win the games, blah, blah, blah. They're 8-1. And they get the benefit of the doubt, even when it doesn't look pretty, because they got to the Super Bowl last year. And think about how many teams we see get to the Super Bowl and then the next year stumble. The Eagles aren't stumbling. They're 8-1. They're flying high in South Philadelphia. And their schedule, they're going to get a few L's. But their schedule, well, it picks up coming out of this bye week. Oh, this Cowboy game was just a start. You get on Monday Night Football, November 20th, Kansas City. Then on Thanksgiving weekend, you get the Buffalo Bills. Then December 3rd, San Francisco. December 10th, in Dallas. September 17th, Seattle. That's the next 5 games for the Philadelphia Eagles. Monday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Back-to-back 4:25 games on Sunday. Then you get a Sunday Night Football game against Dallas and another 4:25 p.m. Eastern time game, 12th man in Seattle. Oh, I can't wait to watch the Eagles the next 5 weeks. Those are some heavyweight fights. And if they go, 3-2? 4-1? What are you going to say after that stretch? Because they're 8-1, and they're just getting started because they still haven't played their best brand of football. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a break. When we come on back, Are Ogunbowale is going to join us from the Houston Texans. He used to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I actually interviewed him in studio here at CBS Sports Radio. And then like a week later, the world was coming to an end because COVID hit us. That was the last in-studio guest I had before COVID, which is wild. But Are Ogunbowale is a backup running back for the Texans. If it wasn't for Dameon Pierce being hurt yesterday, he wouldn't have even been active. And thankfully for them, he was, because their kicker goes down. And he had to kick for them in the second half, put him up 3 late in the game. We know there was some back and forth, and then we saw the magnificent C.J. Stroud in 46 seconds do what Dak Prescott couldn't do and get the ball in the end zone. Are Ogunbowale from the Texans will join us on the other side. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
Stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone all season long. You can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. What a win yesterday for the Houston Texans up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And someone that we once had in studio here on CBS Sports Radio actually played a big role in the game in an unexpected way, and that was kicking the football. Now joining us, running back for the Houston Texans. I guess we could call him a kicker now as well. Are Ogunbowale. Are, it's been a while. Appreciate the time. How you been?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. So take me through what halftime was like for you. Fairbairn gets hurt. When did they come to you and say, we need you to kick in this game?
Right at half, we're in the locker room, and Frank, our special teams coach, tells me that I should go out, leave the locker room a little early just to get a couple of kicks. And I'm kind of confused as to why, because nobody really knew that Amy was hurt yet. And so I get out there, and I'm thinking that he might, just be able to come back, but it's just kind of a precautionary thing. And I get out there with John Weeks and Cam Johnson, the long snapper and punter, and they tell me, he's down. You're kicking the rest of the game. And I'm like, oh. So, halftime was different. I'm out there warming up, taking kicks and field goals. So it was pretty different.
I know that you'll be willing to do anything to help the team win, but how nervous were you when you had to line up for that field goal that you eventually drilled?
The field goal, I really wasn't as nervous. As definitely like at halftime when I was kicking I was more worried about the kickoffs, keeping it in bounds and keeping it in play. But the field goals, I'm actually pretty good, and I knew if I was close enough, I'm pretty good with my accuracy up close. So I wasn't too worried about that. And, when you run out there, you got the play clock going, you got to get down, the O-line getting set. You really don't even have time to worry about anything, just watching the snap and the hold. So I didn't even have time to be nervous, to be honest with you. But I would say I was more nervous for the kickoffs than the field goal.
When you make that kick, I don't know if you've seen the video. I know you lived it, but your special teams coordinator had an all-time reaction. How many times do you watch back that clip today of you making the field goal and then how your coach reacted to it?
Yeah, man, that was the best part of it. Just everybody's reaction, especially Frank's. He's always got crazy energy. So after that, being able to get him all turned up like that was fun, man. It was funny seeing how he reacted to that.
Are Ogunbowale here with us. You know me, I don't pretend to be an expert when I don't know something. One of your marketing reps, Evan, was texting me during the game yesterday, and he goes, Dare actually played soccer up until his junior year of high school. So it's one thing to know that kind of background, but how did the team know? Like, everyone has an emergency kicker, but how did that come about where the team knew that you even had that in you?
Yeah, so last year we kind of were going around seeing if anyone had kicking background just because of the same thing, just in case something happened and we needed an emergency kicker. And so during camp last year, we did a little thing where we pretended like Amy wasn't able to kick, and I went out there with the field goal team and kicked an extra point. Wow. But then nothing happened since camp of last year. But Frank back in his mind. Like I said, we never expected Amy to go down. But Frank knew that I had the kicking background, and I kind of had that tag as the emergency kicker, and was actually able to make use on it.
I know what you just said, kicking in practice, but when was the last time that you ever kicked in a game? Was that high school?
I've never actually kicked in a game.
Wow.
I've never kicked in a game. In high school, I would kick with the kickers and stuff in practice and stuff like that, but I never kicked in a game in high school, no. So this was my first time actually kicking in a game, which is pretty cool.
How much did the soccer background kind of help you when you're out on the field this past weekend?
Oh, yeah. That's the only reason I even have a kicking motion, besides without that, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be the emergency kicker. I'll tell you that. So that definitely came in handy. And Cam, and people were surprised that Cam Johnson, our punter, isn't the emergency kicker, but it's a completely different motion. He's got the Aussie style of punt. So me having the soccer background is really what was helpful for me being able to do the kickoffs and the field goals, just because it's a completely different motion.
Talking to Dare Ogunbowale right now, your name gets thrown in the national spotlight with what you did yesterday. I know that was one of your old teams that you were going up against in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When you look at all those factors going into it, just what does yesterday's win mean for you?
That was awesome, man. Like, obviously, it was a great game even without that. But being able to do that against our old friends, seeing those guys on the sidelines, being able to laugh about it with my teammates, it was special, man. It was definitely fun hearing how many people were excited for me and then caught wind of what happened, man. So it's a blessing for sure.
I have to talk to you about your quarterback, C.J. Stroud. I don't even know what there is left to say. He had a record-breaking performance yesterday with 470 yards, had the 5 touchdowns, methodically goes down the field at the end of the game in 40-something seconds. Just how do you describe what you've seen so far out of your quarterback in C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, man, 7 is special. He's special, and it's just, I mean, the talent, you see the talent. You see talented quarterbacks coming to the league all the time, but it's the poise, the confidence, the command he has in the huddle. He's got it. He's got it. He's special, and it's fun to see every week him come out and just do something, like you said, just do something else that you didn't expect him to do. And 46 seconds, drive a team down 75 yards. I mean, that's special, man. And I'm glad he's our quarterback. I'm excited to see where he takes us, and we with him because he's a special player.
You've been around the standard. You were around Tom Brady, who we all know is the greatest quarterback of all time. I know he's halfway through his first season, but do you see any similarities being around Brady when you start off the early tenure with C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, I would definitely say that command and that leadership, like I said. I mean, that's something that your quarterback has to have, and C.J.'s got it. When he gets into the huddle, everyone's confident that play is going to be a successful play just because even the way he barks it out, So he's definitely got that thing that coaches always look for when they're finding that guy who's going to lead the team. So, yeah, C.J.'s got it, and I would definitely say there's similarities there between the two of them.
Now, this organization needed a special player like that to move it back into the right direction. The last 2 years, you fired coaches, you're picking early in the draft, said goodbye to Deshaun Watson as well. With a kind of new feel and a new era with some new faces in Houston, how do you just kind of describe the vibe around this team? Because you guys have been one of the great NFL surprises so far halfway through the season.
Yeah, man, we don't really worry about too much of that. Every week we go in trying to make sure we win that game that Sunday. So the culture, all that's taken care of itself. The way we practice, the way we play, the way we attack and prepare. So all that's going to take care of itself. That's not really something that we worry about. We just want to go out there and win games, man, and play a good brand of football. And I feel like we've been doing that. And there's obviously a lot of stuff we can build on to get better, but I think I like the way the direction the team's headed for sure.
We've seen a lot of times guys be successful coordinators, and it doesn't always translate into being really good head coaches. DeMeco Ryans, even when he was playing, was just always known as a leader and the heart and soul of teams. To have him back in Houston, coming over from the 49ers, what has impressed you the most about your head football coach in DeMeco Ryans?
I would just say that culture. He's bringing that whole mentality, and obviously being a defensive guy, you don't expect him to impact the offense as much as he has, but he has. And it's the culture that he's brought with him has been great, man. The team, we've got a lot of energy all the time. Everybody's juiced up to play and practice, so that's been fun. And like you said, you can see that personality coming through from the type of player he was, and now the type of coach he is. Because the whole team is kind of taking the character of him. So it's been pretty cool to see the transition that the team's had. And, we're going to do some good things because of the guys that we got leading.
Before we let you run, Dare Ogunbowale, I just want you to be able to share your story a little bit more. I know you played your college ball at Wisconsin. You were undrafted. You've bounced around through a bunch of teams since 2017. But now with your name in the national spotlight with the crazy kicking performance yesterday, just what do you want people to know about Dare Ogunbowale?
I don't know, man. I'm a hard-working guy. I'm very blessed to be where I'm at, in my 7th year in the league. And, a lot of work went into it, being a walk-on in college, going undrafted. Definitely a blessing to be where I'm at. And so I appreciate you for having me on to be able to tell my story.
Yeah, one last thing that I'll ask you before we let Dare Ogunbowale run. I was reading that after the game, it was said that if Dameon Pierce wasn't injured, that you probably wouldn't even have been active for the game. Isn't that just crazy? Like, you never want to see another player get injured, but it's kind of crazy how life works where you probably weren't going to be active, then you are, and then out of all things, you're kicking in this game. Just wild.
Yeah, you never know, I guess, when your number's going to be called, so glad I was able to execute.
Well, that's how you kind of lived your life. Dare Ogunbowale, always appreciate the time. Congratulations. Really happy for your success, and thanks so much.
Appreciate it, man.
There he is, Dare Ogunbowale, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And the Texans are a team that they're easy to root for because for a while it was just marinated in chaos and incompetence and poor football culture with Deshaun Watson and Jack Easterby, and then you're hiring 2 coaches that you knew weren't going to be the head coaches. And it just shows you when you get that franchise quarterback and when you get a guy like C.J. Stroud, who has been doubted before, and he plays the way that he's playing right now, you could quickly turn this thing around in the NFL. We've seen it before with Andrew Luck. We've seen it before with Trevor Lawrence, and now you're seeing it with C.J. Stroud. Because for this team to be 4-4 right now and to win a game that they did yesterday in the fashion that they did, man, it's a real tip of the cap to DeMeco Ryans, to Nick Caserio, to C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, and just the culture that has changed right in front of our eyes this year through the first 8-9 weeks of the NFL season. This is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll come on back, and we will do a segment that we do every Monday and Friday right here on CBS Sports Radio, Onside, Offside. But first up, standing by with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here's the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And this report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs. For protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Both starting quarterbacks in New York are now down. 8 weeks after Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, Daniel Jones suffered a torn ACL. The Giants have been awful this year at 2-7. The Jets have been able to stay afloat without Rodgers, hoping they can last long enough for him to return. They host the Chargers tonight in the Monday night matchup, looking for their 4th straight. The Chargers are looking for back-to-back wins and to get to the 500 mark on the season. Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert will miss some time with a fractured forearm. Craig Counsell isn't staying in Milwaukee, but he's not going to New York either. He's the new manager of the Cubs, getting a record 5-year deal worth $40 million. After the Mets struck out on Counsell, they're reportedly going to name Carlos Mendoza, the Yankees bench coach, their new manager, while the Cleveland Guardians have named Stephen Vogt their new manager. The Braves are exercising the $20 million option on starter Charlie Morton. The Celtics look to remain the only unbeaten team in the NBA tonight when they go for their 7th straight in Minnesota. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, it's Amy Lawrence. Be sure to listen to CBS Sports Radio at home. Just ask Alexa to play CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
Talking to the Pro Football Hall of Famer and Emmitt Smith.
You don't have a Mahomes in Dallas. You got a Dak Prescott that's efficient quarterback enough to throw the ball 35 times a game, maybe 40, maybe. You should have a running game that should balance that and create more opportunity for Gallups and everybody else to get down the field with play action if you run the ball effectively. If we believe in Tony Pollard that much to where we got rid of Zeke Elliott, well, damn it, use him.
Does it annoy you that Zeke's not playing for the Cowboys?
It does.
Why?
Why? Because I thought the 1-2 punch was awesome. And it does ignore me. It makes me hot that he's not a Dallas Cowboy.
This is the Zach Gelb Show. here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Who will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? That's the poll question today at Zach Gelb at CBS Sports Radio. Early returns. In first place, 29.3%, the Cincinnati Bengals. In second place, 28.7%, the Baltimore Ravens. 23.8% in third place go with Kansas City. And then other go 18.3%. I'm trying to figure out who the others would be. Can't be the Dolphins because their three biggest games, loss. Can't be the Bills. You can't feel confident about them. Jaguars, they got to go beat a legit opponent, and they lost to Kansas City earlier in the season. So I don't feel great about the other category. But I think the three best teams in the AFC are the Chiefs, Bengals, and Ravens. I picked the Bengals before the year to get to the Super Bowl and go up against the Eagles, and I'm not moving off that prediction yet. But first up, let's get some questions. We got some answers. We do this segment every Monday and Friday right here on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We call it Onside, Offside. Stuart Kovacs, hit it!
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb on CBS Sports Radio.
All righty. Big Mike CBS, or as other people are trying to make this a really popular nickname, Moist Mike. What do we got cooking today?
I still don't know what you're talking about. I do not respond to that.
By the way, that's actually a nice color shirt on you. It's a little bit wrinkled. Looks like you pulled it out of the bottom of the hamper, but that's a good color on you.
Wrinkled? No, this has been hanging up. I hang these.
Just naturally, us guys, like we wear shirts that don't always.
Yeah, I think
may
it's
look
wrinkled
wrinkled
just
when
because
you take it, but when you put it on, it's wrinkled.
Yeah, no, I think it's just wrinkled because I have bad posture and I bike to work and I'm just a mess.
I will say you do rock a very nice gray beard. I think the beard looks wonderful on you. It's a nice tan shirt as well. You're looking good, Samter.
It's gray everywhere now. You should just be gray down here by the chin. Now I'm getting gray all down the sides, too.
Your daughter has to pull that beard
she
a lot.
loves it.
Yeah.
She loves it.
My niece, Raquel, whenever I have some facial hair, she, like even the littlest facial hair, she will pull it. And so you have a nice, big, burly beard. She's probably grabbing that beard all the time.
It's fantastic.
It's got to hurt, right?
No, she doesn't really pull it. She more just like rubs it and it feels interesting to her.
And your baby girl's adorable, so she could do no wrong.
And the reality is at the end of the day, everything is new to her. So like she's just like learning every second of every day.
You're a big mush now. That's what you are.
Well, speaking of learning and being a big mush, the Patriots have to learn how to win some football games.
Yeah, we're on to Samter's beard. We're on to Samter's beard. Let's pull the beard. All right, do our job.
Who do you sound like? Man, it sounds so familiar. I can't place the voice, but it's somebody very important.
Hello, it's me. My name is Bill Belichick, and I may be fired when you're unwrapping presents under your Christmas tree.
Well, you actually might get fired mid-season, Mr. Belichick. Everyone thought that maybe it would happen after the season. Now, Ben Volin is reporting and wrote that there's a chance that if they lose in Germany to the Colts, he might actually get fired during the bye week, which is nuts that he wouldn't get to finish up the season.
Yeah, that's trolling Volin right there.
Now, this morning, Belichick was asked specifically about his job security.
Have you been given any assurances from ownership about your job status for the rest of the season?
Yeah, my focus is on getting ready for the Colts.
Do you personally believe that you could be coaching for your job this week against the Colts?
I'm going to control what I control. I'm going to get ready for the Colts.
That's great.
You do a great Belichick. So, onside, offside, Bill Belichick will get fired if he loses to Indy next week.
In Germany?
On the tarmac, waiting for the plane.
This is a 6-time Super Bowl champion as a head coach. This is a guy, along with Tom Brady, that saved the New England Patriots. No. There is a 0. And I mean a 0.0. You know what? Negative 47% chance that they would fire Bill Belichick coming off a loss to the Colts in Germany. Now, I will say, I was reading some of Volin's article. They pointed out this long-term extension, Volin believes, is only through 2024. So it's not as long-term as you may think it could be. Like, there's a chance Belichick's not back next year with the Patriots. I will acknowledge that. But there is no way Robert Kraft is going to fire him right now after week 10. No shot. So you ask me if Bill Belichick will get fired if he loses to Indianapolis next week. Offside.
Offside.
And by the way, I want this team to lose every single game the rest of the season. Tank, tank, tank. I want Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., Shedeur Sanders. Could do like the Rolex with the Shedeur Sanders. That would be fun. Whatever. I want a new quarterback, and I want them not to mess up this new quarterback. Who's with me?
Not I, said the Jet fan or former Jet fan.
Oh, Stu. Fraud alert right there. You know
Former
my theory.
Jet fan. That was my instinct kicking in. I still, even as a Chiefs fan, I don't want to see the Patriots come back.
You know my theory. He publicly on the radio said, I gave up on the Jets. I'm now a Chiefs fan. And I still believe there's one thing to say it, but down deep, we all know who Santa roots for. He's a Jet fan.
That's not true. The Browns improved to 5-3 as Deshaun Watson started and finished the game for the first time since week 3.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. Myles Garrett added a sack in the shutout as the Cleveland defense now tops the NFL in yards allowed and is third in points allowed. So onside, offside, the Browns are a legit threat in the AFC.
A legit threat in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl?
A legit threat to the top teams in the playoffs. Like you can see them going on the road and beating the Bengals, going on the road and beating the Dolphins or KC or the Ravens.
So, like, what round of the playoffs are you saying?
It's a divisional round.
Just getting to the divisional round.
Getting to the divisional round and being a tough out.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. And I said, here we go again. It's the Cleveland Browns, and it's 1st and 10. With that defense, if the standard just to get to the divisional round, yeah, they can. Like, they're not going to an AFC championship game. They're not going to a Super Bowl this year. But that defense is kick-ass. They have a tremendous offensive line, even though Jedrick Wills got hurt yesterday. I don't know the status on him. They lost Nick Chubb for the season. I don't trust Deshaun Watson. But with that defense, they could go wild card weekend to someone else's turf and knock them out of the postseason, especially when they get to the quarterback the way that they have with Myles Garrett. It's either him or TJ Watt for Defensive Player of the Year. And Dalvin Tomlinson, the big fella, he was feasting yesterday. Had 2.5 sacks in the game. So, yeah, if it's just to get to the divisional round of the playoffs, the Browns could do that.
All right, so if the season ended today, the Cardinals would have the first pick, followed by the Bears at 2 and 3, because they also have the Panthers pick.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Giants 4th, Patriots 5th, and Rams 6th.
We're only the 5th pick right now, and we suck this much.
Yeah, it's really
Stu,
sad.
I know your pain now. I know your pain.
I know. It's one thing to suck. It's another thing to suck and not have, like, a number 1 overall pick. There are 6 or even
or you could be
7.
the Jets, and whenever you're picking in the top 3, you mess it up anyway.
Oh, my gosh. Zach Wilson, number 2? No, thank you.
Sam Darnold?
Oof. Now, there are 6 or 7 QBs, it depends on who you ask, that could go in the first round, including Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Quinn Ewers, even Shedeur Sanders. So onside, offsides, at least 4 quarterbacks will go in the top 6 this year.
Oh, this is easy. Easy. Oh, in the top 6. Huh. Actually, I thought you meant the first round.
No. Top 6 with those teams, Giants, Patriots, Rams, Bears, Cardinals, and then whoever else could potentially be in there.
And last year we had 3 go in the, top 4. Yeah, because the Colts are in at 4. Yeah, you will have 4 go in the top 6. Because there's no doubt about it that 1 and 2, or 2 of the first 3 picks in the draft, you're definitely going to have, because the Cardinals, right, could be picking, no, not with the Texans. They won't be picking high up anymore.
The Texans are like 12 or 13 right now.
But the Bears will be. So the Bears replace the way that we thought about the Cardinals because the Panthers picking their own pick. So they could go quarterback, non-quarterback, but they're going to take a quarterback. So Williams and May will definitely be the top 3 picks. And then the top 6, yeah, you could find 2 other quarterbacks. And the team's going to have to move up. Maybe someone comes up from 10 to get into the top 6. But, yeah, I'll go onside there. Different way that I originally thought the question was. But, yeah, sure. At least 4 quarterbacks will go in the top 6 this year. It's still an onsides.
All right, so after throwing for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in last week's loss to the Eagles, Sam Howell threw for 325 and a touchdown in the comeback win over the Pats yesterday. Howell's on pace for 4,500 yards and 26 touchdowns this year. So onside, offside, Sam Howell has proven he will be a quality NFL starter for the long term.
I don't know if he has a ceiling of being great, but he has displayed so far he could be a good quarterback, an above-average quarterback in a short sample size in the NFL. And it has nothing to do with what the Commanders are saying. It's what other teams are saying. Jason Kelce, highly complimentary when he didn't need to be to Sam Howell. Even, I know he's not the end-all, be-all, and I know he's not the football ruler of good and bad quarterback play, but Alan Siegel, who covers the Patriots, he was doing Eye on Football yesterday, and he was like, the Commanders, you could tell, easily have something here in Sam Howell with the way that he was playing in the game. So I think Sam Howell, when you just say will be a quality NFL starter, that's just being like a good, solid starter, the way that I view that question in this league. I'm not saying he will be a Pro Bowler. I'm not saying he's going to be an elite starter, but he's a guy that you could win some games with. They now got to fix the rest of that roster with the Commanders. There'll be major changes after this season with the new regime coming on in with Josh Harris and also Magic Johnson. So Onsides.
All right, number 16, Oregon State beat Colorado and QB DJ Uiagalelei.
Say that 10 times fast.
DJ Uiagalelei / DJU. But I've actually mastered his name. I've practiced his name over and over and over again.
DJ Uiagalelei.
DJ Uiagalelei.
Yep. Halapuli Vati Vaitai.
Yeah, no thank you.
Tua Tunga Vailoa.
Tunga Vailoa I got.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I can do that one too.
Those are my 4 favorite names in sports right now.
What was the second one?
Halapuli Vati Vaitai. He's like a former offensive lineman. He still may be in the league. He was with the Eagles, Lions maybe. But yeah, Big V they called him. You could see why.
Now he's rolling with 10 touchdown passes, no picks over his last 4 games. Now after his 3 subpar seasons at Clemson, as a highly touted 5-star recruit, DJU has 18 touchdowns and 4 picks in Corvallis. So onside, offside, DJU does have a future as an NFL quarterback.
And the Clemson system was horrible, and they had no offensive line. I'm not saying he's going to become Jalen Hurts, to the level of greatness that Jalen Hurts is displaying right now, but it could be a very similar storyline that we saw happen with Jalen Hurts when you were the guy, right, touted as the guy at Clemson, then you lose your job, and then you go somewhere else and you have success. Now, there was more spotlight on Jalen Hurts because he was at Oklahoma and he was doing it with Lincoln Riley and he was a Heisman Trophy finalist. And DJU is at Oregon State right now and he's not getting the hype. But I think he could have a future as a guy that goes in the 2nd or 3rd round and has a shot to be a team starting quarterback at least for 4 or 5 years. So, yeah, I go on sides.
All right, last one is all eyes are on the gridiron, but some big news on the diamond today is former Brewers skipper Craig Counsell chose the Cubs over the Mets as his next job. The Cubs missed the postseason by just 1 game, though the disappointing Mets had baseball's top payroll, ridiculous, at $353 million.
Spend Stevie spend.
And the Cubs in Chicago were 12th in baseball. Onside, offside, Counsell made a mistake choosing the Cubs over the Mets.
And he knows David Stearns, too, who's running the Mets. It's tough to say that he made a mistake when both teams were last year. The Mets are more disappointing. The Cubs are disappointing towards the end of the season. They paid him $40 million, I read, over 5 years. And he doesn't even have to move his family. You could just drive 90 minutes from Milwaukee to Chicago if you want. I'm going to say offside there when you ask me, did Counsell make a mistake choosing the Cubs over the Mets? Still a legendary brand like the Cubs, and we got to see what the Mets are going to be because we know they'll spend on Steve Cohen, but can they go win? Because 1 year they had a lot of wins, and then last year they went in the wrong direction. So I will say offside on that one. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, away we go. Hour number 3 of our radio program on a big football Monday right here as we react to all the craziness from this weekend. And we do have our final Week 9 game later tonight. The Los Angeles Chargers visiting one of the worst stadiums in the NFL, MetLife Stadium, to go up against the Jets, Jets. Once the show does end, even though I'm not a fan of the Chargers nor the New York Jets, a buddy of mine is a big Jet fan. He's like, I want to go to the game. I want to go to the game. I want to go to the game. So that was him basically saying, go get 2 tickets. It's one of my best friends. I did that. So we're going to go to the game right after the show. And the only way to make this game intriguing is probably have a few drinks beforehand and also get some good food as well. And I want to quickly get involved in the tailgate scene at MetLife Stadium. And then you got to bet on the game, too. So, I don't know. It seems fishy. Austin Eckler, anytime touchdowns, only at minus 105. Those odds seem way too low. Like, you would think they'd be up a lot more. But I did sprinkle a few shekels on Austin Eckler. And then Breece Hall of the New York Jets, their really quick running back, he was at plus 125. So I'm loading up tonight on the anytime touchdowns between the Jets and the Chargers. By the way, guys, just wondering, best tailgate food. You go to a football game. Stu, you go to see your pathetic Raiders who are smoking victory cigars after one win against the Giants, the little Giants. We will get to the Raiders in just a second. And Samter, you're going to root for your Jets or your Chiefs, whatever team you're rooting for.
Hey, first win ever on German soil. Let's go Chiefs.
And you go to a football game. Now, let's just say you're not going to Kansas City because that changes, right, how food is done. Like, let's say you're going to just a normal football tailgate, not a specific location. What are you hoping? What is the one item that needs to be there for a successful tailgate? Stu, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll say something like a sausage or bratwurst or something of that regard, I think is, at least for me, the number one choice.
Yeah, a good sausage on like a bun with some onions and some peppers. No one could go wrong with a good sausage. A good moist sausage, right?
Yes, very moist.
Samter?
I don't know how to respond to that one as I roll my eyes. The back of my head is hurting from rolling my eyes so hard. You have to have some sort of a finger food or something you can walk around and eat. But if you have a good spot where you can sit down and actually enjoy a meal at a tailgate, there's nothing better than like a good barbecue or ribs or something that you can sloppy and just really just get down into. But if you don't have that opportunity,
some moist ribs, you're saying?
Yeah, some ribs. Something ribs.
Gotcha.
That's the best.
Juicy, succulent ribs.
But a good burger, if you have to walk around, you can't sit down, a good burger that you can just one hand, that's the best.
So here is our spread. When I go to Patriot games, I tailgate with Ray Martell, who used to produce in this time slot, the legendary Sugar Ray Martell. And he is a friend who used to be a fire marshal at the police department or the firefighter department. And we call him the chief. And the chief has a brother who is Italian, and his brother owns a few pizza joints. So we go all out at the tailgates. Wings, to me, is the number one answer. I love wings. So we get wings on the grill. We also have sausage. We do our charcuterie as well. We'll do some shrimp. You have everything. And then the brother brings these pizzas down from his place, and we put those up on the grill to warm them up a little bit. They got buffalo chicken pizza. They got pepperoni pizza, sausage pizza, and all that stuff. So that's how I usually go for my tailgate. But I will say, after going to Kansas City, I don't know if there's a better tailgate city in the world than Kansas City. And we just got to see it for the draft because you're right, Samter. When you get the barbecue and you get smoked ribs and you get brisket and mac and cheese and fire kiss wings as well that we saw in Kansas City. You tailgate that way, it's just a different level. And I will say this, I've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of sporting events, a ton. March Madness, Super Bowls, Stanley Cup, NBA, big-time playoff games, World Series. Now, I'm going to Michigan, Ohio State this year, Thanksgiving weekend in the Big House in Ann Arbor. But the one thing I want to do, and I think I'm going to do this trip next year, I want to go to an SEC football game down in the South. Have you guys ever been to an SEC football game where it's not like a neutral site game? I'm talking about on the campus, or you go and see LSU play, or you go to Alabama. That's what I want to see. Next year, I may want to go to LSU, Alabama. That's something that's on the radar of Zach Gelb, because the tailgate scene and the party scene, a friend of mine, he married a gal who went to Hotty Toddy, Ole Miss, and just their tailgate scene and the videos that I see from their tailgates are just bonkers. So SEC football game is something that maybe we could do it as a show trip, right? I'm sure if we hit up the company and say, hey, it's a good bonding experience, let's pay for it, I'm sure they'd be down for it, right?
No.
Oh, no? Oh, okay. Well, geez. Trying to get us a little team building, good camaraderie on this Monday. And there goes Samter, just in a miserable mood. I'm going to start calling you miserable, Mike.
I'm down going. I'm down to go. We could head down there and do our thing, but
You just don't think the company will
No.
dish out the cash for it?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
Anyway.
if we can find a way to make it work-related
Okay.
as opposed to tailgate-related, then I think that would be more beneficial.
All right, we got to start sucking up to one of our affiliates in the South.
There you go.
Make sure there's a reason for us to definitely be there. We got to fly Zach and Samter and Stu out there, and we're going to have a grand old time, and we're going to lead the biggest tailgate party ever. I'm in. Who's with me?
I'm going to wear an Odyssey T-shirt and just walk around the stands. Like, hey, guys, look at this thing.
Someone throw some eggs at you or something like that. So Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon, breaking news, has announced that Kyler Murray is expected to start Sunday versus the Falcons. This isn't a surprise because he had the 21-day window that was opened up when he returned to practice. He has not played the last 2 weeks, so the days were winding down before he had to be elevated to the active roster. So Kyler Murray expected to start this week. I'm surprised, actually, if you would ask me before the start of the season, if he would have been back by the middle of November, I would have said no, because he tore that ACL late in the season, and I didn't think there was an incentive really for him to return after getting all the money. But with that being said, he's playing the final 8-7 weeks of the season, whatever it is, for his job for the future. And when I look at Kyler Murray, who I do think if he became available via trade, even with the contract and some of the uncertainties, I do think he would be an attractive option. Because, let's say if you're looking for a quarterback and you don't have a top 5 pick and you're not able to go draft Drake May or Caleb Williams, whoever the big name is, and there's not a quarterback that you love, well, Kyler Murray, you at least know he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he's great. I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback, but he's paid like one, and bare minimum, he has displayed in his young career that he could be a good quarterback. Now, he needs to put in more of the time. He needs to put in more effort. He needs to be more committed to his craft, because it's no secret when you pay someone that much money and you have to put a study clause in the contract, what they eventually wiped away because they got embarrassed when it was released publicly, it shows that they wanted to, bare minimum, send the message, we need you to study more. We don't trust you to prepare what a franchise quarterback does and what needs to do in order to become great. And Kyler Murray has the ability, in terms of talent and athleticism, to be great. But so far in the NFL, we've only seen him be good. And remember, it wasn't that long ago where the Cardinals were rolling, and in the second half of the season, they shut down, and then he was embarrassed in that playoff game against the Rams, as with the entire team. But he didn't take it on the chin afterwards, and he got very defensive. And then he made this story, and he made the game turn out to be, even though it was bad, worse than it needed to be, because people would have just slammed you for 48 hours and then they would have moved on. You brought it back up because you basically made it appear that you were done with the organization because you thought you had to take too much of the L in that playoff game. But for Kyler Murray now, even though Cliff Kingsbury and him at a time were very close, Jonathan Gannon has been nothing but complimentary, even though he's the defensive guy, to Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray is in a bizarre opportunity, because I'm sure there's a portion of the Cardinals fan base that's already done with the guy, and they want to see this team be as bad as possible. And they don't have the luxury anymore. When they made that trade with the Texans and they got the Texans pick, everyone thought before the season started that the Texans would have been picking in the top 5 of the draft. Now the Texans are somewhat of a good team, and the Texans are 4-4, so that's not going to be as good of a draft pick as you thought. Now, for the Cardinals' sake, they only got one win. So they could have a great draft pick in their own right. But now it's different, because if Kyler Murray really is that dude, you should be able to think that this guy will be able to go win a few more games. And if that's the case, he could put you at a position to get Caleb Williams or Drake May. And you look at their schedule the rest of the way. They play the Falcons. They play the Texans. They play the Rams. They play the Steelers. You play the 49ers, you play the Bears, you play the Eagles, you play the Seahawks. So you have some tough games. Like, Seahawks are in division, tough. Eagles, tough. 49ers, division, tough. But when you get to some of these other games like Atlanta and the Rams and the Bears, those are winnable games for them. So if they go win 4 games this year and Kyler Murray wins 3 games down the stretch, he could assure that he's going to be the quarterback at least for next year for the Arizona Cardinals. But if they're in the top 3 and Kyler Murray doesn't play well and they have an opportunity to draft Drake May, Caleb Williams, the 2 guys that we've talked about the most, I think they're going to draft them. I do. And then that turns into a situation of where does Kyler Murray wind up next? Because there will be a team, if not multiple teams, that are interested, even with the contract, in the services of Kyler Murray. Because how many times do we see a quarterback who's been a lot worse than Kyler Murray be young and teams go, oh, the organization messed him up. Oh, that was a joke of an organization. Oh, my ego says to me that I'll be able to bring Kyler Murray in and get the best out of him. And Kyler Murray's still young. So teams will be willing to take a shot on him. And when you look around, let's say, be the Cardinals' preference not to trade him inside the NFC. Let's say if you look at the AFC, could the Raiders maybe be a destination? You look around, outside of that, do the Patriots want to go bring him in? I don't think Bill Belichick and Kyler Murray, if work ethic is a problem, really mesh. Does Tennessee want to pull the trigger? But Will Levis has played really well through the first 2 games of the season. Who knows how we're talking about Will Levis at the end of the year? So the AFC does not have a lot of good destinations or a robust field. But inside the NFC, there's a few that stand out. The Giants could be in need of a quarterback. Daniel Jones just tore his ACL. And I'm talking about for next year. And maybe they're picking in the top 5 of the draft. You look in the NFC North, Kirk Cousins don't come back with the Vikings. I know Josh Dobbs had a great performance, but Kyler Murray with Justin Jefferson and Addison, hello. That would be a lot of speed. If the Packers want to give up on Jordan Love, could Kyler Murray wind up at legendary Lambeau Field? And the NFC South, there's no long-term quarterbacks there. Bryce Young is going to be given the opportunity. He could be the guy with the Panthers. The Bucs are going to need a quarterback after this year. The Falcons, that's a good destination. Imagine Kyler Murray, regardless of what you think about him, with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier. So there's more destinations in the NFC, and you know who may actually be the best destination? They won't do this because it's trading in division. I look at the Seahawks. If things continue to trend in the wrong direction for Geno Smith, you talk about a good destination. Seattle's defense is young, up and coming, and then offensively, you have DK Metcalf, the ageless wonder in Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and 2 running backs in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. The Seahawks actually could be the best destination there. And if Brock Purdy lays an egg down the stretch, the 49ers could be a good destination too. But I don't think the Cardinals would trade him inside the NFC West. But that's a major storyline to monitor because if the draft were tomorrow, Cardinals will have the number 1 pick. They'd be moving off of Kyler Murray. Bears have the 2nd pick. That's from Carolina. The Bears have the 3rd pick. That's their own pick. Giants 4, Patriots 5, Rams 6, Green Bay 7, Tampa Bay 8, Denver 9, and Tennessee 10. That's the top 10. And teams like the Bears, teams like the Giants, the Patriots, and even the Rams, who probably are looking for a new quarterback. Those teams are elated to hear that Kyler Murray's back. Because regardless of what you think about Kyler Murray, it makes them better. It makes the Cardinals better, and that could push them back a few spots, and your team could elevate and find a way to be picking number 1 and getting Caleb Williams or Drake May. All righty, I got to get to the Raiders here real quickly. So, Stu, before I play this report from Jay Glazer, which I saw this yesterday as it was breaking, and I looked at it on Twitter about 10 times before I said it on Eye on Football because I didn't believe it was true. I didn't believe it was true whatsoever. But the Raiders smashed the Giants yesterday. Unfortunately for the Giants, Daniel Jones is now done for the year, and the Giants are going to have to, with them, where they're picking at 4, I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy. I know he's paid like the guy right now, but with him now getting hurt once again, you're dealing with a neck injury, you're dealing with an ACL as well. too many injuries are piling up for a guy that most people don't believe he's a franchise quarterback for you to continue to stick with him. And if you get a top 5 pick, and right now they're at 4, I think they're going to find a way to scout and get a quarterback. You already saw Joe Shane this past weekend at the Washington USC game, looking at probably Caleb Williams and Michael Penix, both quarterbacks, because even though he didn't know that Daniel Jones is going to tear his ACL, you have to do your due diligence because Jones hasn't been able to stay healthy nor show that this year he could continue the success that he had last year. But your Raiders, after getting tortured by Josh McDaniels, have Antonio Pierce elevated as the interim head coach. Josh McDaniels sent packing along with the GM in David Ziegler. And you guys absolutely smash the Giants, which is the Giants, whatever. But now you guys are 4-5, and people are like, all right, the Raiders are happy. They're smiling. They're smoking victory cigars after the game in the locker room. Now, Stu, you are like Raider fan numero uno. What was your reaction to your team smoking some victory cigars after they won their first game without Josh McDaniels as their head coach?
I certainly thought it was a little bit much considering the opponent. I mean, it's just beating the Giants. Might be the worst team.
Little Giants.
They might be the worst team. If not, they're one of the 2 or 3 worst teams. But I think it did signify what it meant to them and really the weight that Josh McDaniels had on them and the fact that they're
like ding-dong, Josh McDaniels is dead.
Yes. I think it was more that than, okay, big win. It was more, okay, weight off our shoulders. McDaniels is gone. Let's see what happens these last few games of the season.
And not that this is a great team, but there is some talent. Like, this is a team that they have 3 of the top 20, 15 players in the league with Max Crosby, Josh Jacobs, and also Devontae Adams. So there's some talent there. And can they get hot? Can they go put Antonio Pierce in that position to get the job and contend for the playoffs? Like, I don't think they'll be a playoff team, but their outlook is a whole lot better with Antonio Pierce than Josh McDaniels, and that's clear after one lousy game against an inept opponent in the New York Giants. Because if Josh McDaniels coaching, I don't even know if they win the game. Because I don't know if Aiden O'Connell's even starting that game. And if you throw Jimmy G out there, who's scared as scared could be with how much he got hit against Detroit, it's going to be a lot of frustration where Adams hates his coach, Jacobs hates his coach, and Jimmy G goes, wow, I'm just going to get abused here. So I don't even know if they win that game yesterday if McDaniels is still the coach. But this is where you just can't believe it. This is Jay Glazer. It's about 50 seconds. I want to play the entire thing because it's jaw-dropping and it's stunning. This is Jay Glazer on Fox detailing the last week or so that was for Josh McDaniels with the Raiders.
Last Thursday, there was this big airing of the grievance meeting, and players just unloaded on Josh McDaniels from captain to player to player. And finally, Josh McDaniels actually had Antonio Pierce get up and speak on behalf of him and the coaches. When Antonio Pierce got up there, he said, look, guys, we have to have our own culture. It's got to be about culture here. And we also have to look at it. And he brought up the old Giants team that beat the Patriots, Josh McDaniels' team, in the Super Bowl in 2007 season. He said, no matter who we played, we thought we could beat them. We had a game plan that we could beat them. We had to believe that, and that's not here. We have to believe it here at the Raiders. We could beat anybody. Well, he finishes up that speech. Everybody thinks they're great, except for Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels then goes over to him and says, don't ever talk about the Patriots like that. And then you really saw how divided that building got. That got up to Mark Davis, and I think Mark Davis looked at it and go, okay, I'm going to choose the guy who believes that we can win every single week.
There's a lot there. That's the understatement of the year. Now, I remember when the report initially came out, where it was like, oh, they had a meeting, it was airing of grievances, and everyone's now on the same page. And I was like, as the kids would say, I'm going to call cap on that. Because I didn't believe that for a damn second. There's no way you could basically undress your coach, your head coach, regardless of what you think in Josh McDaniels, and in a game that is played with alphas and egos, that everyone was going to be on the same page. But to hear Jay Glazer say that basically Antonio Pierce came to save the ass of Josh McDaniels and get everyone on the same page, and he goes, we got to have the mentality like the 2007 Giants that slayed, at the time, the undefeated Patriots, and McDaniels, who there's morons and then there's Josh McDaniels as a head coach. And this jackass goes, oh, don't you talk about the Patriots that way. It is one of the more inconceivable things and laughable things that I've ever heard. The great Larry David couldn't even write that script of comedy. McDaniels must have known he was getting fired, and he was auditioning for Saturday Night Live. Because when I heard that over the weekend, my chest was hurting because I was laughing. I fell down. I hit the floor because Antonio Pierce came and saved your ass. And you go, nope, I'm going to throw more gasoline on the fire. How dare you, Antonio Pierce, talk badly about Bill Belichick. So go back to New England and milk the teat of Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, because without him and Tom Brady, you are nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh, my God. The incompetence from that bozo. That bozo. It's amazing, Stu. And it shows you how bad your Raiders are. Where he came and got help from Antonio Pierce, and then he just goes, nope, throw it all in the paper shredder when things are starting to be positive. I couldn't believe that when I saw that yesterday.
I couldn't either, and I had the same reaction. I laughed, and I read it like 4 times before I saw the video of Glazer.
I thought it was a fake tweet.
I did too.
I saw it from Ari Mirov first from My Sports Update. I go, someone hacked Ari. That's what I thought. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Touchdowns, sacks, upsets, and last-minute heroics. Another NFL Sunday is in the books, and we've got you covered with the biggest plays and sound bites from another wild week in the National Football League. It's time for No Huddle Offense on the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, we start things off in Germany. The Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs. We expected a whole lot of points in this one. Well, in the first half, the Kansas City Chiefs had 21 points. One came from a defensive touchdown. The Miami Dolphins only got on the board twice. Those were 2 touchdowns. They both came in the third quarter. Let's listen up to a wild return for a touchdown off a fumble, and he had a lateral. Here is Brian Cook picking up that football and getting it passed off to him and going into the end zone in Germany.
Quick out, bubble screen, Hill, nowhere to go, and the ball came loose, and it's picked up by the Chiefs. Coming down the near sideline, breaking free. This is Brian Cook trying to take it to the house. He's going to touchdown. Touchdown, Kansas City. Tyreek Hill caught the pass, got hit immediately. The ball came out, and it was picked up by Brian Cook, who takes it the distance for a touchdown.
So there you go, an insane play. And I actually had a conversation with Steve Spagnuolo. We were exchanging some texts after week 3. And I said to him, your defense doesn't get enough credit through the first 3 weeks of the season. I pointed out, how impressed I was with this defense. And Spags, who is a longtime legendary defensive coordinator, I know it did not go out well for him when he was a head coach, all those years ago with the St. Louis Rams. But he, got back to me and he said, we're okay with no praise. Our guys are all in and just want to help the team win. Got to do it again. Well, they've done it again. Because through the first 9 games of the season, and they've only averaged allowing 15.9 points per game. So that defense is legit. The offense, on the other hand, it could get a whole lot better for Kansas City. Mahomes, 185 yards passing, did have 2 passing touchdowns, but no receivers were over 35 yards receiving. And the Chiefs only had 46 total yards of offense in the second half. But the big takeaway from this game is the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a good team. The Dolphins can win the AFC East for the first time since 2008, but they're not a great team. They're not a Super Bowl contender, and you can't trust them as one of the top teams in the AFC this year because up against Buffalo, who's not that good, they got blown out. Then they lose to the Eagles. And then in a game that was winnable, you lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. And even though they were down 21-0, they made it 21-14. Tua is driving late. And on back-to-back plays, Tua had one of the worst underthrows you will ever see. And then the next play, he fumbled the football, and Kansas City gets the victory. Our next game, maybe the most improbable story of the NFL season. Josh Dobbs got traded Tuesday from the Cardinals to the Vikings right at the trade deadline. Josh Dobbs not even supposed to be starting for the Minnesota Vikings. Barely even knows his teammates, just knows some of their first names, not even their last names. And they wear the names on the back of the uniform. Well, Jaron Hall gets hurt, has the concussion. In comes Josh Dobbs. He had 3 total touchdowns in the game, 2 passing, 1 rushing. And here was the game-winning 6-yard touchdown to Brandon Powell to make this the final 31-28 over the Atlanta Falcons.
Dobbs back to pass on third down. He stays in the pocket, fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Brandon Powell, the former Falcon, has beaten the Atlanta Falcons with a 6-yard touchdown pass from Josh Dobbs. 30-28 Minnesota with 20 seconds to go.
That was the legendary and one of the more entertaining play-by-play guys around the NFL in Paul Allen on the Vikings radio network. Remember when Minnesota started out the season 0-3 and then they were 1-4? Well, they've now won 4 in a row, defeating the Bears, the 49ers, the Green Bay Packers, and now the Atlanta Falcons. So the question is, can the Vikings make the playoffs? To get that final wild card spot in the NFC, 9 wins? Can they go 9-8? Well, let's look at the schedule. Saints, Denver, Bears, bye week, Raiders. Those are their next 4 games. If they go 3-1 in that stretch, they find the way to get to 8 wins. And then in the final 4 games of the season, they have tough games. Play the Lions twice, they play the Bengals, and they play the Packers. You only got to get 1 more win. So the key is win 3 out of your next 4, and the final 4 games of the season, just go win 1, and you get to 9-8, you should be able to make the playoffs. Next game, this was the most disappointing game of the weekend. And the reason why I say that is because I thought this was going to be a great close game. And I remember even saying on Friday, the spread doesn't make any sense, and I'm probably going to be a sucker here, and I was when I plus the 6.5 points with the Seahawks, because they were begging you to plus the 6.5 points with the Seahawks, and the Ravens steamrolled Seattle by a final score of 37-3. Ravens go to 7-2. Seahawks fall to 5-3. Geno Smith, 157 yards and an interception. Lamar Jackson, 187 passing yards, 60 rushing yards. And Gus Edwards had 52 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. He has 6 touchdowns in his last 3 games. But let's hear Tyler Huntley towards the end of the game have a 6-yard touchdown pass to the birthday boy, Odell Beckham Jr.
Huntley wants to throw, lobs to the back corner of the end zone, and it is caught. Touchdown! OBJ! His first as a Raven. Well, it's a big day of firsts for the rookie and the veteran. Keaton Mitchell gets his first NFL touchdown, and OBJ gets his first Ravens touchdown.
And how about Keaton Mitchell, the rookie undrafted out of ECU? He made the Seahawks walk the plank as he's an ECU Pirate. 9 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown. And isn't that crazy? Odell Beckham Jr.'s first touchdown as a Baltimore Raven is thrown by Tyler Huntley. But getting to the man that does start at quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, through the first 9 weeks of the season, I know we have Jets and Chargers tonight, but no one there is an MVP candidate. I got to say, Lamar Jackson's the MVP of the NFL. Mahomes' offense has not been great this year. You look at the Dolphins, they don't have a great win, and they're going to split votes regardless between Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa. You could make a case for Jalen Hurts, but I've been most impressed this year with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, who are 7-2. We had Are Ogunbowale on earlier from the Texans. He had to get called on to kick when they came out of halftime because Kaimi Fairbairn left with an injury, and he is a running back, wasn't even supposed to be active, but then Dameon Pierce was inactive before the game, so their emergency kicker, Are Ogunbowale, was made available, had a kick late to put the Texans up 33-30, but then Baker Mayfield tried to ruin that story where he got a touchdown, and then with 46 seconds left, C.J. Stroud got the ball back, and 40 seconds later, he found Tank Dell in the end zone to win the game 39-37.
CJ looking, throwing to the end zone. Touchdown!
Yes!
Houston
Yes!
takes the lead!
Yes!
Dell with the reception! Rock and roll! My goodness! What a comeback! Go Cougs! Let's go!
Just absolutely crazy. Texans win the game. They're 4-4. C.J. Stroud, rookie record for passing yards in a game, 470 yards and 5 touchdowns. And he had 3 wide receivers over 110 yards. Noah Brown with a $153. Dalton Schultz, the tight end, with the $130. And then Tank Dell with 114 yards. Baker looked like he had a victory. And then C.J. Stroud said, "Not so fast, my friend." And C.J. Stroud is already playing like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. We did this a few weeks ago. Like, there's 7-8 quarterbacks you could easily rattle off in the top 10. And then it's like humana. Well, with what C.J. Stroud's doing and elevating the Texans, he's right now a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League. Alrighty, Cowboys-Eagles. Looked like the Eagles had this game won, and then the Cowboys were gifted an opportunity. And Dallas gets down to the 6. Somehow they found themselves at the 27. So you go from the Eagles 6, where you think you're going to win the game with 27 seconds left, to all the way to the Eagles 27. So moving further away from the end zone. That's the drama. Dallas choking Cowboys. Even when you think they're playing a good game and about to win a game, then the drama. Dallas choking Cowboys pop up. Let's hear the final play of the game where they completed a pass, but CeeDee Lamb was tackled short of the end zone.
Eagles are 5 seconds away from going 8-1. Will it happen? Prescott back again. He steps up. He pumps. He fires. It is caught, but he's tackled. Tackled to CeeDee Lamb at the 2-yard line, and the game is over and the Eagles win.
What a heavyweight fight we've witnessed.
Crazy that Merrill Reese was doing that game. I guess he was under the weather, the legendary Eagles broadcaster on the Eagles radio network, but you could tell he was playing hurt. But Merrill Reese is a tough guy, and taking care of the Dallas Cowboys makes him feel a whole lot better. But if people look at this game, like, it's easy to dissect the Cowboys. They're fraudulent. They're just a good team, not a great team. Dak played a heck of a game, but 2 opportunities late to go win the game. He can't get the job done. That's why I don't view Dak Prescott as a franchise quarterback. But it's amazing to me when we look at these teams week in and week out, and you see teams go up and down, where teams win and you start to believe in them and then they lose. The Eagles, coming off a Super Bowl loss, are 8-1. And people are like, oh, how good are the Eagles? Just stop that nonsense. The Eagles are the best team in the NFL. The Eagles are the most well-rounded team in the NFL. And my only concern is Jalen Hurts' health, because he did leave halftime, right before halftime, a few seconds early. He's been banged up. That's been well documented. It's a bone bruise. As long as he stays healthy, and I'm assuming the Eagles are going to get the number 1 seed, I'll be really surprised if the Eagles aren't representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. And then finally, this game looked like it was going to be a heavyweight fight. I know it got close late, but in the beginning, that was probably the best part of this game. Bengals end up winning 24-18. Bengals are back. They're 5-3. Bills continue this up and down seesaw ride of a year where you just know that they're not an elite team. They're now 5-4. But let's hear Joe Burrow toss a 22-yard touchdown pass to Drew Sample. This made it 21-7 in favor of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Joe has the ball under pressure, dumps it off short, caught. Drew Sample has a first down to the 10, the 5, toward the pylon. He's in. Touchdown.
Beautiful.
Bengals. Drew Sample catching a short pass from Joe Burrow and doing the rest on a 22-yard TD.
I know they got off to a slow start because of the Burrow injury. We talked about Lamar being the MVP. Joe Burrow continues to do this. He's going to go right into that conversation as well. He's now healthy. The mobility is back. Planting is back for Joe Burrow. He's 31 of 44, 348 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. And with all the weapons that the Bengals have, who would have thought the only 2 receiving touchdowns in this game would come from Irv Smith Jr. and Drew Sample? Joe Burrow is just a badass, and the Bengals are one of the best teams in the AFC. They were my pick to go to the Super Bowl before the start of the year. And even after a slow start, I still think they're going to find a way to go to Las Vegas and go up against the Eagles. That's your No Huddle Offense. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We will preview Chargers and Jets coming up tonight to put a bow on Week 9 of the NFL season. Update time first. Here he is, the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Flash.
Well, the Jets host the Chargers to close out Week 9 of the NFL season. New York started the season with dreams of being in Las Vegas in February, and with Aaron Rodgers down, their defense has helped keep that dream alive. The Chargers' offense is 7th in the NFL, but has struggled in recent weeks. On the flip side, the Jets' offensive line has been a patchwork unit and will have to go up against the likes of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. The Cardinals will start Kyler Murray this week, provided there are no setbacks in practice. Daniel Jones officially done for the year, with MRIs confirming the Giants quarterback has a torn ACL. Jamar Chase is day-to-day with the sore back, and the Eagles will be without tight end Dallas Goedert for some time due to a fractured forearm. Craig Counsell was looking to cash in as a free agent, and has he ever, reportedly getting a 5-year deal from the Cubs worth $40 million, the largest contract ever for a manager, and David Ross is subsequently out. After whiffing on Counsell, the Mets are reportedly going to name Carlos Mendoza their new manager, while the Cleveland Guardians have named former catcher Stephen Vogt their new skipper. It's the first time the 39-year-old has managed at any level. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Jim Rome here, coming up Tuesday in the Jungle. The UNC quarterback and reigning ACC Player of the Year, Drake May. See you Tuesday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Yo, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Let's get our final poll calculations of the day, which you could always find on X, which is formerly known as Twitter. I see that's how they've been promoting that these days. At Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. And it's a very simple question today. Who will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens, other. Those are the four options. First place, 28.2%, the Cincinnati Bengals. Second place, the Ravens at 27.6%. Third place, the Chiefs at 24.7%. And then other at 19.4%. My vote is the Bengals. They were my Super Bowl pick before the start of the season. Joe Burrow stays healthy. They are a well-rounded team with a defense that gets disrespected and not enough national credit, with Lou Anarumo leading the way. Hendrickson's been a stud ever since he came over from the Saints, and he's been one of the more underrated defensive players in the sport. And offensively, they just got so many weapons. Like we were just talking about, Sample and Smith last night scored for them. You would have thought it would have been Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. I know Mixon got into the end zone late, but it just shows you the great point guard that Joe Burrow is. So my vote is the Bengals. Stu, who are you taking right now? 9 weeks through the season, I don't think you're going to say other and go with like the Jets or the Chargers, but I haven't seen them play this week, even though we're going to see them play coming up in a few hours in a game that I'll be attendance for. But for you, who's the best team in the AFC right now that you think will find their way to the Super Bowl, projecting the rest of the season?
Clearly, it's the Raiders with Antonio Pierce leading the way. No,
want to know? They're undefeated.
Undefeated with Pierce.
Could you imagine if this is how it ends? Samter, let me ask you a question here. Let's see how nice of a guy Samter is.
Ooh.
We go to a Super Bowl every year. Usually one person has to stay back. Samter is the producer. He's usually the guy that goes on site. And they say, Stu, when Samter doesn't want to go somewhere, we'll send you like what happened with the draft, a.k.a. Samter was dealing with a very young child at the time. Raiders get to the Super Bowl. Do you pass up a trip to Vegas to let Stu go to the game?
You're assuming I like Stu and I want to do something nice for him. I'm stuck in this room with him for like 3 hours a day.
And it's such a ridiculous question. So can I give you some advice here? You should probably say yes. It's never going to happen. And by the slimmest of chances that it does, then you just got to stay here for Super Bowl week.
Screw Stu. No way.
Okay.
Yeah, Stu, you're staying here.
So
Sit
much
your
for being a
ass
good
down.
teammate.
You stay here. You're not going anywhere.
If they're in the Super Bowl, I will be there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Stu will be like, I'll pull some seniority and get someone fired around here, or just relegated back to going to the Super Bowl and say, this is big Stu. I want to go to a game here.
How about this? If the Jets get to the Super Bowl, then Stu can go for me.
No thanks. I'll call out sick that week.
That's real nice of you. Let me tell you. You're such a benevolent person, Samter. Who's the best team, though, seriously, in the AFC that you think will get to the Super Bowl?
I think it is the Bengals right now. I think they've turned the corner. They're healthy. It's Burrow. It's Chase. It's so good. It's so tough to beat right now.
Samter, are we all in on the Bengals? Is this going to be like the mush of all mushes, and then when we get to the Super Bowl and they're not there, or the Bengals lose in like the divisional round, everyone's going to say, oh, those are those three dopes on CBS Sports Radio?
Absolutely not. I'm going with my Chiefs, and I'm not just saying it because they're my Chiefs. It's the Chiefs.
See, you know
like until someone beats the Chiefs are the team,
and it's a fair stance.
And it's still Patrick Mahomes, and they're getting better every week. The young receivers look better every week, and the defense, like you said, with Spags, they look solid. And until someone can beat the Chiefs, it's the Chiefs.
And that's a big reason. I know Lamar Jackson has had success up against Mahomes and the Chiefs before. It's all in the regular season, though. The one team that's been able to have success in the regular season and the postseason up against the Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals. Now, they split the 2 AFC championship games, and then the Bengals have won 2 other regular season games. So that's also a part of it as well, the bravado of the Bengals, even though it screwed them last year because they got too overconfident, they got too cocky, and their hubris led to their downfall with that stupid Burrowhead statement. But that's the team that I think scares Kansas City the most. All right, it's time to answer our Ask the Pros question of the day, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Cody in Los Angeles says, Zach, if the Chargers lose tonight to the Jets, do you think Brandon Staley should be fired? You could submit a question by tweeting at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. You know, it is funny. A prominent former college basketball coach actually said to me, and I said basketball on purpose because that's who he was. He said, you love to fire coaches and you advocate for so many coaches to get fired. And I said, no. I don't love to see coaches get fired. I just don't put up with the same old, and you know someone's not going to work, and they continue to go back to them. And that was done when I was advocating for Brandon Staley to get fired after they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. That was the text that I received for someone that's a friend that was a former college basketball coach and someone that's well known. I won't tell you who it is, but...
Wait, former basketball coach, well known. Coach K?
No, Coach K didn't pick up my phone.
Damn.
He did not. I have tried Coach K's cell phone before. No luck there. But Brandon Staley, I would have fired him a few weeks ago because it's like, what are we doing? Where are we going? This team has too much talent. And if they lose tonight, even though the Jets have a good defense, but the Jets don't really have much of a resemblance of an offense, why do you continue to employ this guy? And don't tell me, because I used to say this, it's the Spanos family, they're cheap. Mark Davis, who's also cheap, just got rid of Josh McDaniels with 4 years remaining on the contract. There's only 1 year remaining on this contract. So I would fire Staley if they lose tonight. I think this is a close game. I do think, though, even with how good the Jets defense is, that the Chargers are going to be able to outscore the Jets tonight. This has like the makings of 24-17, 23-13, like something in that realm. I think the Chargers win, and we avoid, for at least the rest of the week, the Brandon Staley fired conversation. But I don't think he's the answer with the Chargers. Big thanks to Ogunbowale for joining us. Big thanks to each and every one of you for participating in the show. Also like to thank Stuart Kovacs and Mike Samter. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.